This is from Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob LaRue watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same. Sorry, I'm just barping, Jesus Christ, burping up a storm here. This pamplemousse bubbly is really kicking the shit out of me right now.
You love bubbly.
I do love bubbly. I really wish they would sponsor this show. The new peach flavor is great.
You heard it here first, folks. Bob loves peach bubbly.
Peach bubbly, yeah. It's a strong contender. Not as good as lime, not as good as grapefruit, but its third is good.
Okay. I like blackberry.
I loathe blackberry.
It's my favorite bubbly flavor and phone.
Boy, I bet you're really, really sad. Blackberry's had it rough the last couple of years.
Anywho, let's get into it. Let's do the pod.
Welcome, everybody, to From Justin to Kane. I'm Bob. And with me
Mike.
is
Mike.
Good old Mike Robertson. And this is the podcast where we take one critically acclaimed film and one not so critically acclaimed film, and we kind of we find everything that's similar between them, even though there's a disparity in quality.
Yes.
This week is a doozy.
This one is probably the most movie we've had to watch for a single episode.
Yeah, I have to say I'm proud of us for doing this, but I also regret it. It was a lot of movie.
It was a lot of movie. That's a lot of movie.
Yes, Mario. Anyways, what are the two films we watched this week, Mario?
So this episode was kind of based on a meme. I assume it's a meme. A friend of mine, friend of the pod, Gulshan, who is a guest on one of our Spooky Month episodes.
Yeah, shout out to Gulshan.
He sent me a picture of these two movies side by side, and the characters were all posed the same. So one can assume that it was a meme, it was a joke, but I think it was actually official kind of artwork. Or maybe it was
I think so.
Made by the fans. But regardless, so the two movies are the 2021, our first movie that we've done that came out this year, this calendar year, 2021, straight to HBO Max, superhero epic, Justice League, actually called Zack Snyder's Justice League, nay, the Snyder Cut. So,
yes.
And the other movie is Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
By Akira Kurosawa.
And both films are really long. I mean, the Snyder Cut is 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Yes.
And Seven Samurai is 3 hours and 27 minutes.
Yeah, it was 3.5 hours pretty much. They couldn't have trimmed out 2 minutes out of the Snyder Cut.
I'm sure they could have. You know what it is? It's 2 minutes extra of credits of additional people who had to work on the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
that's my guess.
I mean, I can think of a few scenes right now just that we could cut out of the film to make it a solid 4 hours.
I can think of more than a few scenes to make it a solid 2 hours and 5 minutes, which would have been the perfect runtime maybe of this film.
That was kind of the length of the original Justice League. The one that,
oh, really?
Yeah, the one that came out in 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but we're living in a crazy time, you know?
Unprecedented, one might say.
Unprecedented. Who amongst us? Who among us, shout out to my fellow gamers, who among us thought that we would ever see the Snyder Cut in our lives?
You know who's probably most surprised of all?
Who?
Zack Snyder.
I guess he probably is, yeah.
Okay, Mike, talk me through it. Did you see this movie in one sitting?
I did watch it in one sitting, yeah.
Oh, interesting. I split it up into two.
I didn't even take a break.
You didn't even go pee-pee or poo-poo
Oh, no,
the whole time?
I did use the washroom once, and I did go and get dinner halfway, because I
but
started
you
it after
didn't
work.
Pause.
I know I did pause it one time.
Oh, okay. I literally would leave the room and just let it keep playing because I wanted it to be over.
Oh, wow. So you didn't watch the film?
I could probably recount almost every scene.
I'm going to pause the recording, and then you're going to go and you're going to watch all of the parts that you didn't watch because you were being a lazy cinephile. And then you can come back and you can tell me that what you saw.
Okay. I'll be back in 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah, you have to watch it from beginning to end again.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, so I guess the concept of our podcast is that we watch a good movie and a bad movie. We talk about how the two movies are the same. This one was basically inspired by a photo or like an image that I saw of basically the Justice League characters posed like a poster from Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai. Yeah.
And it was both of the photos were in black and white.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought it would be fun to celebrate the release of the Snyder Cut, because we both want to celebrate it, obviously, by just like making that meme come to life via our pod. So it is here it is in podcast form, I guess, that picture.
I know this podcast isn't a ragging on films podcast, but I have to say, and this isn't even so much to rag on the film, but to rag on the fans of the film, I am aghast at the amount of positive reception this film has received.
Yeah.
Some of the reviews you sent me that were on Letterboxd, I burst out laughing and then immediately felt really bummed out.
I thought I only sent you funny negative reviews.
You really? I interpreted one of them as like very positive.
Oh, I thought it was Martin
ironic. Scorsese one? Is that just a bit?
That was ironic.
Oh, then I love it. Okay,
yeah,
good.
It was Martin Scorsese crossing out the word "not" in the phrase "not cinema" as he watches the Snyder Cut.
Oh, good. Oh, well, then I agree with. Oh, so I just misread. Okay, I don't have a college
Yeah, it says
degree.
Martin
Scorsese,
having tears in his eyes, opens his notebook and scratches out a single word. Not cinema, with not slashed out. This is by user Hunter Strawberry. However, they did give it a 3.5-star review. So
yeah, which I gave it a 0.5-star review.
I gave it a 1-star review.
Right, and I think those are more reasonable.
They are. Yeah, they're more accurate.
And if you're feeling generous, like 2 stars, sure, but it wasn't better than a 2-star film. Anyways, yeah. I'm shocked that people love this. On my Instagram, on the story, I follow Letterboxd, and there were like 100 reviews in a row, all loving the film.
Yeah, well, I think that okay. So the original Justice League was very critically panned. People did not think it was good. This one is considered good. Not great, but good, and only relatively speaking. Not like standing on its own. Still, just kind of like a jumbled mess, and doesn't need to be 4 hours. So,
but it on IMDb it has an 8.4.
Yeah, but you know what? Also has an IMDb rating of something high like that. So many movies. For the longest time, The Shawshank Redemption was the best movie ever made. According to IMDb. And you know who rates IMDb? Who rates on IMDb exclusively? Like 40-year-old male nerds.
Okay.
So
yeah, you're right.
So if you're like, the superhero comics are a big part of my childhood, therefore I watch movies like Justice League with blinders on. And I
literally like horse blinders, because it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's like
having horse blinders on your eyeballs.
Well, I mean, it was both of these films an early similarity. Both of these films were great examples of horse cinema, equine cinema in a 4:3 aspect ratio. Equinema. Well, no, it would be horsey exploitation. Yeah,
or equestro. Exploitation.
Equestria
exploitation. Yeah. The word is equestria exploitation.
Equestria, like the planet that the My Little Ponies come from.
Yep,
they come from a planet, I assume.
I thought they were magic and not aliens.
Who's to say?
Just a couple of grown men asking what the premise of a children's show is. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Well, yeah, and this is definitely the first time two adult men have talked about My Little Pony on a podcast, for sure.
Really unprecedented ground, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. Definitely.
Maybe we should do a mini-sode on My Little Pony later on down the road.
I mean, I heard My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, the TV show, is actually really good. Hence, Bronies. Like, the reason that Bronies exist is because the show is so good. The original My Little Pony TV show and whatever other properties exist as My Little Pony that I grew up with was not good by comparison because there were no middle-aged male fans. That's how you know if a thing is good. It's because middle-aged male fans like it.
You mean 40-year-old nerds who rate movies on IMDb?
Yeah. You know that something is good because they like it.
So you're saying the same people who love My Little Pony love Zack Snyder's Justice League? I wouldn't be
surprised by any particular Venn diagram.
Okay.
If you showed me any specific, if you're like this, you showed me a circle and was like, this is the Venn diagram of these two fandoms, I'd be like, yep. Or if it was slightly like the Venn part was more like, is that what it's called? It's called the Venn.
No, I just made that up. The Venn, the meat, the peanut butter and jam in the sandwich.
The Venn meat,
the middle part.
Yeah,
the Venn meat. Yeah. The meat of the diagram, the Venn. Sometimes it occupies more space than the non-Venn.
Yeah, I know.
AKA diagram.
Well, but our podcast posits that when you have these two films on a Venn diagram, it's a circle.
It's one singular shape, and there's no part that isn't overlapping. You're right.
It's one slab of Venn meat.
Venn meat that the canines
just they salivate
gobble.
Over. They gobble down.
They gobble it up, don't they? Huh?
And if we haven't called out the canines in a while on this pod. So if this is your first time listening, or if you're a first time listener, first time not caller because nobody ever calls us. Then,
sadly,
then you will. Yeah. So canines is one of the common phrases we use to refer to our fans, which I assume we have.
It was a real waste getting that landline for the podcast because not once has it rung.
I know. Well, we've never given out the number. I think that was our biggest problem. We never gave out the number.
Oh, right.
So call us. Right. 780-420-6969.
Yeah, nice. I was going to do a 1-800 joke, but I like that.
I mean, it would have worked the same.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same bit. Okay, well, interesting. I'm glad we cleared up the fact that I misinterpreted that one review as a genuine sort of, condoning the film.
Yeah.
And I am happy to know that was just an ironic bit.
Well, but Letterboxd has proven time and time again that it is a great place for cinephiles to gather, but it is also a good place for like comic book nerds to go and have toxic conversations, I guess. Not to say that every comic book nerd is a member of a toxic fandom, but I just noticed that when someone's like 5 stars, Snyder Cut, and then you go and look at the comments, it's like a lot of, just kind of what you expect.
Interesting. Yeah.
But so you go on Letterboxd, there's a lot of low star reviews with some funny reviews, some funny, snarky, pithy, if I will, one sentence reviews of Snyder Cut, and then there's some super, super long, just fawning 5-star reviews as well. So, I mean, there's no accounting for taste, and especially when things are so tied to nostalgia, or someone's like identity is so tied to pop culture, then it's like, and also if you're like a Snyder Cut person, if you're one of the people who have been trying to get this thing made or shown, I guess, not made because it was already made kind of. If you're one of those people who's trying to get this thing shown for 3+ years, then, I mean,
4.
Yeah. Of course it's a 5-star review. It doesn't matter. Zack Snyder could have just had Superman. It could have been like Superman taking Batman's cowl, booing in it, and then Batman puts it on his head, and then smiles, and then a Leonard Cohen song plays, and it's 4 hours of that, and everybody would have been like, the Snyder Cut was the best film ever made.
You texting me being like, this ends with hallelujah? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck you said was so funny.
Well, the original Justice League started with a similar cover of Everybody Knows, a Leonard Cohen song. It just was showing like Metropolis sad that Superman was dead, while Everybody Knows by Leonard Cohen plays, but it's like a woman singing it with like a lot of vocal range.
Right.
Instead of like the potato range that Leonard Cohen had.
Oh, man. Potato range is a good way of putting it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Everybody knows I'm a potato guy.
Well, you just pissed off a lot of Leonard Cohen fans.
Well, okay, this episode is going to get a lot of people mad. Snyder Cut fans, My Little Pony fans, bronies, I guess.
Cohen fans.
Leonard Cohen fans, conies.
Conies, yeah.
Yeah. But,
okay.
Yeah, so we're beefing with a lot of people.
Well, you know what? Life is for beefing. That's what I say. Whether you eat beef or not, life is for beefing.
Truly.
Yeah. We should well, we haven't talked about Seven Samurai at all.
No, I mean, sadly, it's the least interesting of the two movies because it's not like in the zeitgeist currently.
No,
Samurai.
It certainly was in 1954.
I mean, it is in the zeitgeist in a way because it seems like Justice League kind of cribbed some things from it, maybe.
It definitely did.
But then
and
also
I don't know how you felt, but the films are so similar.
Very similar, yeah.
Like even beats, there are beats in the film that are the same.
And well, also like Seven Samurai is such an influential film. So it is in the zeitgeist always. So that's an early similarity, I guess, before we get to our similarity segment. Let's just do a quick little volley of a similarity right off the top that they're both zeitgeisty.
Well, we've actually done 3 similarities already.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves.
We're peppering them in amidst the other random shit we do on this show. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I guess maybe this might
It's more like a herb you sprinkle instead of it being an actual, a piece of meat.
Yeah.
In your meal or whatever. It's just like a nice herb you sprinkle and it just gets evenly kind of, just portioned throughout the dish.
It's kind of like scenes of Lois Lane in the Justice League movie where
I wrote a note.
You wait an hour and then another Lois Lane being sad scene comes in. You're like, oh yeah, right. Lois Lane is in this. And Superman's
I wrote
dead,
a note
I forgot.
and I was like, I've never seen Amy Adams be so underutilized in a film before.
Oh, I know. It's 4 hours and she's in it for 10 minutes.
Not even.
And
less.
she only drinks hot drinks in these scenes and looks
just
sad.
drinks, yeah. Tea and coffee, and it's always overcast and it's raining.
Yeah.
And she's just sad. And she's such a great actor. What a bummer. Like, they just didn't use her.
You knew that she was sad in this movie because she was acting well.
Sure. Yeah, you could say that. I can't dispute that. You're right. She was acting so well that I did know she was sad.
She was also playing Lois Lane. She wasn't being Amy Adams. That was something that she was acting so well that you were like, oh, that's not Amy Adams. That's Lois Lane.
No, I thought that's Amy Adams.
Oh, okay. Then she didn't do that good of a job.
No, she didn't. She really phoned it in. I thought the ratios were funny. Like, J.K. Simmons had one scene, but he had almost top billing. Same with, what's his face? The guy who plays Lex Luthor.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, he only shows up at the end in the opening credit sequence. Also, let's take a minute. This is a spoiler alert, I guess. But I assume the whole Jared Leto business was an add-on.
Oh, yeah. That was shot during the pandemic.
That's what they... Right, so they filmed that later.
Yeah, that was filmed in the last year.
And that was a hilariously stupid scene.
Yeah, although I kind of respect it a little bit.
Why?
I think it's terrible. I think it kind of goes against what we believe about Batman, that he doesn't kill people and he doesn't curse.
Right.
And he does both in those scenes. He threatens to murder the Joker, and also he says the F word while he's threatening him.
The F word really caught me off guard because there isn't a single swear in the whole movie, and then there's just an F-bomb at the end, and I was caught off guard.
Yeah. That scene presents an alternate reality. It's kind of like Zack Snyder paying tribute to alternate reality Zack Snyder, because I think he knew when he was doing this that this was his last chance to make a thing with these characters. Unless the Snyder Cut somehow like revitalizes the DCU or whatever it's called. The DCCU. So I think he just kind of was like, let's just have a fun little epilogue where you get to see these characters, because it'll be my only chance to shoot with these guys. And you got to have the Joker in this movie. You can't have like a 4-hour Batman movie without the Joker in it.
Sure.
So I don't know. It seemed like it's wanky, but the whole thing is wanky. So, and it was good that they presented it as a dream sequence. I also think one of the cool things that comic books do is show like they take these weird story turns, like alternate realities, multiverses, or they're just like, this is what happens when the apocalypse happens. And these are how the characters, so the bad guy won, Darkseid won in this film, is kind of what is being posited in that dream sequence. So
right.
I'm into it. I thought that scene was terrible though, but I'm just like, go for it. I've already watched 3 hours and 10 minutes.
No, you've seen 3 hours and 50 minutes.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. The last 2 minutes was Jared Leto sitting on a car talking about some esoteric bullshit.
Yeah, and he talked like Jim Carrey for some reason.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said, so that's
he talked with his butt cheeks. He's like, "Hey,
Jesus
Batman,
Christ.
Can I have a breath mint?"
Fuck. I'd love to have a movie where all the people who have played Joker are in it. You know, like the Spider-Verse, but with Joker, but it's live action. If Heath Ledger were still alive, of course.
Yeah.
We have like Jack Nicholson, his current age, playing Joker. And then you have Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix, even though that's kind of like a huge departure. And then I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, Jared Leto. And they're just all in a movie together and they're just like ganging up on Batman. Wouldn't that be fun?
I would love that.
And like Jack Nicholson's just super old and he's talking about how he misses watching basketball. Apparently, part of his deal for the Batman film was he agreed to do it because they bought him a lifetime like seat at a basketball arena. I don't know which team he supports, but he got like basketball tickets.
That's amazing.
For life as part of his payment.
That's
because
sweet.
he didn't want to play Joker. Isn't that slick?
But now look at him now. He's watching
Look
basketball.
at him now. He's watching lots of basketball.
And
That's
people
right.
I think people think his Joker turn was one of the better ones.
Definitely. And it was pretty good.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. Also, you may never see that film of all those Jokers, but you'll definitely see it as a poster at like a college poster sale.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought about that. That's right.
Yeah.
I should go buy that poster.
I'm surprised you don't already have it on your wall. You love the Joker as a character.
Do I? I'm also not a poster guy. I don't know about you. I don't own any posters, really.
You're always asking me why I'm so serious. And you're like,
you know what?
How I got these scars?
Actually,
and then you point at your butt stitches. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to know how you got these scars.
That poster when it's like all smoke and then it's red and it looks like lipstick or blood or something and it says why so serious. I had that poster. I bought it from HMV.
Oh, cool.
And I hung it in my room.
I had a giant poster of Jar Jar Binks on my wall at one point. And it was just his smiling mug. I got it as a gift for my birthday. I don't know if it was an ironic gift or it was a genuine gift, but I was like, I like Jar Jar enough, I'm going to put this up.
You know what else I'd love is just a Jar Jar standalone TV show or film.
Yeah.
I could use that. I think it would do well. I think it's been enough time. I know it's a separate podcast. This is a separate conversation.
We talked about this literally at the end of our last episode.
but I mean, Jar Jar, he's so cool.
I mean, you're not wrong. He is so cool.
He dresses well too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's neither here nor there. Let's contextualize these films.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we should move these things along.
Since we've already talked, just start us off because we're obviously talking about Justice League. Why not? Well, wait. We record a really long episode, and then we have a truncated version, and then we have the Mike Robertson's episode, whatever Robertson cut. And you know, like the meta bit you're gonna do with wait, what was Tenet? That movie? Tenet. You were gonna do it forwards and then reverse.
We could
do that with this. Yeah. Oh, we did do it.
Yeah, you don't even listen.
That's funny.
You don't even listen to your own voice afterwards.
I don't, if I'm being honest.
I wouldn't if
I don't want to hear myself.
I wouldn't either.
If you didn't have to edit it, yeah. But what if that would be so funny, like episode whatever. And then episode whatever again, the Mike Robertson cut, and it's just the unedited version. And it's way longer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's way more Jar Jar.
So much Jar Jar.
I think that's a hilarious bit. Maybe the first episode, like, we'll release this on Monday or whatever, and it's only 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I know this is just a lot of work, but, and then we re-release it, and it's like, here's the Snyder cut of our episode.
Nice.
And it's just like fucking 3 hours of us talking about Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll consider seeing if I can cut it down to a tight, tight episode.
Like really short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the Joss Whedon cut, and then the Zack Snyder cut.
I mean, we've only said the word Seven Samurai maybe 3 times so far in this episode about that movie.
We could probably switch right now to Phantom Menace, and no one would know.
They probably wouldn't care. They'd be like, great, talk about Phantom Menace. It seems like you guys want to.
You keep bringing it up, guys.
It's our white whale.
Yeah, it really is our white whale, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's contextualize these films.
Yeah, let's start. So let's just finish with Justice League. We
gotta give people so you're gonna talk about Seven Samurai?
No, let's talk about Justice League first.
Oh, really?
What I meant was let's just get it out of the way.
Oh, I thought that it would have just been like give people a break from talking about it.
Oh, do you want to do that? I can talk about Seven Samurai.
Yeah, I'd say you go first, just because. I mean,
give the people a break.
Give people a little break. Let them hear about this old Japanese movie. That's also almost just way too long.
Yeah, maybe the first thing to talk about is I was under the impression it was like an hour and a half because I've never seen it.
Same.
All the way through. And then I watched it on Canopy, and it was 2 separate videos.
Mm-hmm.
And the first video was 2 hours, and I was like, oh, that's probably just the movie. And then the second video is like some other bullshit. But no, it's a 3.5 hour movie.
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours.
It was a lot of movie, man. This week was a grind almost.
Yeah, if you want to follow along with this episode, you have to put in 7.5 plus hours to
a full working day.
A full working day, yeah. I mean, in the last three days, yeah, I put in a full working day of movie watching on top of my working day.
Ditto. I had a busy week this week. Normally I don't, but this week was quite packed, and I still shoved all these movies down my throat, and my eyeballs. Anywho, okay, Seven Samurai was released in 1954. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa. It was written by Akira Kurosawa, Shinobu Hashimoto, and Hideo Oguni. The 3 of them wrote the screenplay. It had several iterations before it became Seven Samurai, none of which had anything to do with this film. This was kind of like one of his first samurai films, and he had a lot of ideas. He wanted to explore the history of the samurai, and so a lot of his concepts were all over the place. And none of them resembled this movie, but this is what they came onto because they realized they could make it feasibly and within a budget and stuff. And also it's a period film, so it's quite expensive to make.
Yeah.
It is set in the year 1586, which is interesting. I'll touch upon that later when I talk about the history of Japan. The premise, I guess I should talk about the premise. So it's 1586. There's a village of farmers in rural Japan, and they're being attacked by a gang of like, I forget the word they use. Bandits. Yeah, bandits. Attacked by bandits.
The bandits, they want the barley.
Yeah, they want the barley. So the bandits attack. The bandits want the barley. They're called the barley bandits. Yeah. They're not, but I think they should be. Anyways, they attack every season and they like murder a couple villagers. Anyways, the village, out of desperation, they have no money. They go and they hire 7 samurai for no money, just food and room and board, I guess. And then the samurai help corral the village to sort of gain self-esteem, challenge their sort of insular beliefs and sort of unfounded fears, and help them sort of defend their own village.
Mm-hmm. The titular 7 samurai.
Yeah, the titular 7 samurai. The village where the majority of this film takes place was not built in a studio, which Toho Studios wanted. Also, I should say this year, so 1954 is a big year for Toho Studio. Mm-hmm. They made Godzilla and 7 Samurai, and they were both super expensive movies, and they both did extremely well. So this was a really good year. And there was one more movie whose name I can't remember, or I don't know what the grammar is there. Anyways, the name of the film I can't remember, but there were 3 super expensive films, but they all did really, really well at the box office.
Interesting.
In 1954.
Yeah, I read that 7 Samurai was the most expensive movie, I think, in Japan at that point.
At the time it was, yeah. And actually it was stalled twice during production by the studio. And both times, so they would like stop Akira Kurosawa and they'd say, actually, this might be another similarity to Zack Snyder and the Justice League, is Akira Kurosawa had like a very specific vision. Mm-hmm. And he wanted the film to be really long, because 3.5 hours was a long time in 1954 too. And this wasn't really considered an epic, but it was an epic. And it was super expensive.
It was even longer then because they didn't have phones they could pull out while the movie was on.
Exactly.
Just to make time go faster.
Yeah. They couldn't scroll Instagram or whatever dumb bullshit people do on their phones. So he had a hard time. The film was stalled twice while it was being made, and he didn't freak out because he banked on the fact that they had already spent so much money that they wouldn't not commit to it, and they'd like, just because they spent so much money, they had to finish it in any hopes of regaining that money.
The old sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, exactly. He would just leave and go fishing and not stress about it. And then sure as shit, they would call him like a week later and be like, you know what, just finish the fucking movie. He'd keep filming, blah, blah, blah. He would go on and on and on. It like went way over schedule and way over budget, but whatever. It ended up making a shitload of money.
And now look, it's like one of the greatest films ever, if not the greatest film ever.
Well, it's not as good as Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's a great film. It was, it got stalled twice or whatever. But anyways, I guess where it diverges from Zack Snyder's story is he got to finish the movie, whereas Zack Snyder took another 4 years.
Yeah.
This is Toshiro Mifune's or Mifune's favorite role and film that he's in.
Yeah, he's like a big deal.
Well, he's a massive Japanese actor, and he was in a lot of Akira Kurosawa films. They collaborated on a shit like 10 or something films, a ton. One last thing about the production, and then I'll get into the history of the samurai and all that shit.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to do a lot of research on this one because you do a lot of research, and I wanted to just get up on your level for one.
Oh, that's nice.
Don't expect this every time. It's not going to happen, but it happened this time.
Nice.
Anywho, also Wikipedia really is succinct. You can learn a lot in a very short period of time on Wikipedia.
Way to go, Wikipedia. It is. Our podcast wouldn't exist or be half as good as it is, which maybe is not good, but
I think probably 80% of podcasts do their primary research on Wikipedia.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's some of those podcasts where the whole thing is
they're just reading Wikipedia.
They explain to you about a certain topic. They're like, hey, here's something you didn't know about this. And then it's just clear that they're just reading on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Anyways, this was the first film in which Akira Kurosawa implemented multiple cameras because he didn't want to interrupt the action or the flow of the actors. So he would shoot it more like a sitcom than like a film. And he'd have multiple cameras rolling all the time, and then he wanted to make decisions in the editing room. So that's like a super modern approach, kind of like figuring your shit out in the edit rather than on set. And apparently from this film onward, he did that on every single film. He would implement just tons and tons of cameras, like 5 to 7 cameras.
Wow.
So that and he'd really cover the scene. The actors would have a flow, and then he could just kind of figure out the editing later and kind of like find the pacing and the movement of the scene later on.
Because there's a couple of parts in the movie
which
I was
is weird.
wondering how they shot some of the sequences because there's so much going on at once.
He would have like 10 to 12 cameras sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just tons of cameras, especially huge action. Also, this film, like early on, slow motion was never used, but this film uses it in a really interesting way.
There's a couple of slow-mo scenes in it. I was like, this is how you do slow-mo.
Yeah, super like, and again, a similarity to the Snyder Cut, where slow motion was used for hyper emotional or like scenes where characters are dying. Yeah, anywho, I guess we'll talk about the history of the samurai in Japan. So samurai were a hereditary role of military nobility. It started in the 12th century, and the position was abolished in the 1870s. So they weren't like the highest position in Japanese society. They were paid by, I believe it's daimyo. And the daimyo are feudal lords who started in the 10th century and basically were abolished at the same time as the samurai in the 1870s.
Okay.
They held hereditary land holdings, and so they would be born into the position, and then they'd have... like, Japan was split into not that many regions, actually, but there would be a family name over that region, and then there'd be a daimyo who's in charge of that region, and then they would hire basically, like, private armies, which would be the samurai, to defend that area.
Right.
And so Japan for a long time was really divided, and there was no central power. Hereditary land holdings, this class, as well as the samurai, abolished during the, Meiji or Meiji restoration, which was, during the late 19th century when the emperor took over again, Meiji or Meiji emperor. And that's when the country began to modernize, and it started adopting Western ideas and had a lot of Western influences.
Right.
And they realized, like, basically by that point, samurai were being paid to just like hang out and train.
Yeah.
And they would get fed really well, and they'd be housed and paid money and stuff like that. And they realized, and there were it's a lot, like 1.1 million samurai in the country or something. So it was a really high expense for the state. And so they basically, over a handful of years, they implemented different laws that abolished the position. And then most of those samurai became entrepreneurs or politicians.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were basically like kind of Teamster security guards, kind of.
Yeah, basically. And they were all private for hire. But you had to be born into a samurai role.
Right.
So you were born into being a samurai, and then... but a samurai could... So you're born as a daimyo, but you could be born into the samurai position, become a great, well-respected samurai, and then move up. Depending on which era or period in Japanese history you're talking about, there were certain points in which samurai could move vertically and become a daimyo themselves.
Okay.
Like if they killed the daimyo or whatever, there was ways to like gain power. This film, as I said, takes place in the year 1586, which we can deduce from that scene with the scroll. And he talks about how that guy, Toshiro Mifune, is supposed to be like a 13-year-old girl, according to the scroll.
Right.
Anyway, so this film takes place during the Azuchi Monoyama period, which was 1573 to 1603, which was also, I believe, the shortest period in Japanese history.
Okay.
So Japanese history is made up of like 11 or something periods, like the Edo period's really famous and a few others. And some of them were several hundred years, but this one was really short. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, also, Akira Kurosawa comes from a long line of samurais, which was a big reason why he wanted to make this film.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So apparently the most recent samurai would have been about 100 years before this film was made. So the 1850s would have been the last like samurai in his bloodline or whatever. But yeah, pretty interesting. The history of Japan is just like really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
It was really fun to read about, and there's so much more I wanted to get into, but it's like, there's only so much time.
What's Akira Kurosawa's deal? Where did he come from?
Good freaking question, man. I have no idea.
Okay, that's fine.
I just didn't fucking read about him at all. I should have.
No, that's fine.
I was worried more about the samurai aspect of it.
Well, that was really interesting because when I was watching it, I like knew of samurais as a concept, but I was not really certain on the history of it. So that actually kind of gives the movie context and makes it a little bit more interesting and makes it make a little bit more sense. Why there's just a bunch of random dudes who are good with swords hanging out.
Yeah, and they're everywhere. Like
they're
they were
everywhere.
a huge portion of the population, but there was a caste system
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of class within Japan for several hundred years. So there was a lot of segregation and stuff. Also, he was like, just to talk about Akira Kurosawa super quick, he trained as a painter first, and then he basically worked his way up in the Japanese film industry and became a director. But he was an assistant director, and then he did like storyboards and stuff. And then he eventually became a director in the mid-40s.
Okay. Yeah, because he seems like he's one of the greats. Like he's up there with Hitchcock and Kubrick and all that.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's one of the best. Like, you know, like John Ford and Akira Kurosawa and Hitchcock, like you said. Like there's like a handful of the really solid directors.
Yeah, like the
Charlie
really solid
Chaplin.
directors who are also kind of workmen or workhorses, you know?
Yeah, and they just churn it out. They make one movie a year, and almost all of them are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like Howard Hawks and shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, another fun fact was he was a really talented painter, and apparently he would storyboard his films by doing really elaborate paintings, like full-scale paintings, to storyboard his films. Yeah, kind of weird. It would be cool to own one.
Yeah, that would
Don't
actually
you
be
think?
cool.
Like, especially since a lot of his films are in black and white, but he would have storyboarded it in color. Because he would do, like, really vibrant storyboards.
That is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just knowing you'd never be able to shoot this in color. But
And I also believe he was, so Tora Tora Tora, the film about the attack on Pearl Harbor, which came out in the 70s, they had an American director do the American part and a Japanese director do the Japanese part. And
That's
so
right.
Akira Kurosawa was the original director, but apparently he went kind of crazy and lost his mind while making that movie and was fired and replaced.
oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, but a lot of his stuff is in the movie. But apparently he had a weird phase where he kind of lost his mind a little bit. But then he made some bangers in the 90s, so he really brought it home.
Very fascinating. Well, thank you for that, Bob.
You betcha. Let's talk more about Justice League, aka Seven Superheroes.
Yeah, so you thought that we had talked about Justice League enough. Well,
Buckle
here's
up.
more. Buckle up, here's more. Yeah, the Justice League Snyder Cut came out March 18th, 2021, which was 2 days ago. As of
Was
this
it
record.
actually?
I believe so. Came out on
Wow.
Thursday. It's Saturday right now. We're recording.
I'm proud of us for our quick turnaround on this one. I hope people know that this was no small task, this episode.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of editing in the next 24 hours and then be out shortly after that. Yeah, it's funny. So came out in March 18th, 2021. It was on HBO Max and on Crave TV in Canada and Lord knows where outside of North America.
Yeah.
It was not theatrically released. Just put on HBO Max.
How come?
How come?
Yeah.
A pandemic, I would say, probably.
I'm sorry, what?
There's a pandemic happening.
What's a pandemic?
Oh, goodness. Bob, you don't know?
Just
know what's been going on?
kidding.
Goodness.
Just joking.
That's also the first time that joke's been made by anyone.
Yeah. Jeez. You're really putting me in my place with sarcasm. No, I'm just kidding.
I say that about my own jokes too. I make a hacky joke. Not saying your joke is hacky, but I'll make a hacky joke.
Hey, no, it's hacky. I phoned it in.
Sometimes the hacky joke is just what that moment needs.
Sometimes you just gotta hacky sack that joke. Toss it around the circle with just the curve of your foot and keep it in the air so it doesn't touch the ground.
It's just about keeping the pod in the air, man.
Keep that pod in the air. Yeah. And that's what we're doing right here, right now. Anywho, Justice League. Quick turnaround. Good on us.
All I've said so far is that it came out 2 days ago. So this is the quickest turnaround in podcast history, probably.
Yes,
I hope so. I've not looked into that. So, the story of the making of the Snyder Cut is a tale as old as time. It is a demake, shall I say? Not a remake. Or I guess it's a re-edit. Or no, it's the original edit. It's not like...
It's the original.
It's the OG edit of this film that came out in 2017 and was critically panned and was a bomb, relatively speaking. And basically kind of was, in many eyes, the death knell of the Justice League and DCU franchise.
They just can't get their shit together, though.
It's weird that they can't, because they have, everybody loves characters. Batman, everybody loves Superman, Wonder Woman. They've actually done a good job with the Wonder Woman movies. I haven't seen the second one, but...
Oh, no, they've only done a good job with the first one. The second one apparently is a total turd.
Yeah, but it was still, interesting to people, and I think it still did well.
Oh, really? It'll be on Crave next month. In May. I'm going to watch it because I don't want to spend $35 to watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, the Avengers is a kind of more uninteresting team in a way, because Batman and Superman are such heavy hitters. And then you got...
And they're so brooding.
Then you got Cyborg and the Flash.
I hate Cyborg.
Cyborg and the Flash are lower tier, but the Flash is still pretty good. And then... Wonder Woman is also
the character's cool.
Pretty much up there with Superman, I'd say.
Yeah, she's a heavy hitter for sure. I thought Cyborg was so underwhelming, as was the Flash. But anyways, just Avengers knows how to make a movie.
Yeah, but I guess what I was trying to say that they just that team in particular isn't as interesting, I don't think.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
As the Justice League has the potential to be, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, because I don't think Hawkeye is very interesting. Black Widow is boring. I guess you got the Hulk, Iron Man, and what's his
Thor.
face, and Captain America. I don't know. I say Thor is a lower tier character in my eyes.
Oh,
he's like Cyborg to me.
But Thor has 4 of his own movies.
Yeah, they did a good job with that character and making him funny and interesting. If they did Thor like he is in the comics, I'm sure it would have not have been as interesting.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
So they did good by making every character have quips. Quips is the real mother box of that film franchise.
Yeah, you're right. But you're absolute. The potential of Justice League was so much more.
Yeah, I thought it had more potential on paper than the Avengers could have. But, they really figured it out over at Marvel and then have consistently made it good, even though the quality of stories that they're telling are the same, or not worse, but the same.
Yeah. It's also shocking. It's never better. This Justice League film as a plot compared to the Avengers film with Josh Brolin, where he plays that big purple guy and he's getting the gauntlet.
Well, there's 2 movies where he did that. Endgame and the other one.
Right, but that whole plot and narrative of just chasing down this MacGuffin, which is a physical object that can end the universe, so boring.
It's pretty dumb, yeah.
And they're identical.
Yeah, and even Darkseid, the character, who is in this movie, is looks the same and kind of has the same motivation as Thanos, but apparently Darkseid came first.
Oh, really?
And Thanos was kind of a ripoff. Yeah, Darkseid, I think, was created by Jack Kirby, if I'm not mistaken. I can't get any of these details wrong, otherwise I'm sure we'll be eviscerated.
We will be humiliated on the internet and destroyed.
Yeah, so as I understand it, Darkseid came first, and then Thanos was kind of a ripoff of Darkseid. But
Oh, really?
you wouldn't know it because Thanos is more popular now. Darkseid.
Sometimes a ripoff is better, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and also like the Infinity Stones, as far as that goes, that is, I think, is done in a cooler way in the Avengers movies than it is done here.
As opposed to 3 Rubik's Cubes?
Just 3 boxes called mother boxes. Like, no, this isn't cool.
No, and the fact that they had to go in the gauntlet thing, that big glove was cool.
Yeah.
Whereas the 3 cubes, you just have them.
Yeah, you just have them.
And then they just kind of like touch each other and become really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so underwhelming.
And a lot of explaining about like, oh, we can't touch this cube, or this cube does this thing when this happens. And it's like, sure, whatever. Like, just punch a guy, I guess. So anyway, we keep getting derailed because we want to just kind of rip on this movie. So anyway,
I fucking hate this movie. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. So where was I? The original was a bomb, like a box office bomb, relatively speaking, and it was just destroyed by the critics. And when I say the original, I mean the one that came out in 2017. But that movie had troubled production from the start. They were constantly rewriting the movie when they were making it, and then Warner Brothers wasn't really happy with it. They kind of said that the original cut that Zack Snyder submitted was unwatchable. Was the quote?
Woof, that is a rough critique.
And so I think it was just because Zack Snyder's brand is like making super dark, brooding, kind of fascist, aesthetic-y kind of movies that are just like way too serious. They take themselves way too serious. Everything about it is just too earnest.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of against the grain of what has been popular for the last 10 plus years, I guess, with the Marvel movies, which is a little bit more lighthearted and quippy. Joss Whedon was brought on to like do some rewrites, and he kind of came on as an uncredited director to kind of help Zack Snyder. He kind of came on to help make the Justice League movie not so dour. But then, after the movie was shot and they were editing it, Zack Snyder's daughter died by suicide. And so Zack Snyder had to leave the production to deal with family issues. And so Joss Whedon basically finished the film for him, but he also added a bunch of stuff to the script, and they shot a bunch more footage. So supposedly he added 80 pages more to the script. The cut that Whedon put together only uses about 10% of the footage that was shot by Zack Snyder. So kind of cool, kind of interesting. If you're interested in stuff like this, would be interesting to watch them side by side and just kind of see what the big differences are, because it sounds like there's a lot of big differences. But in 2017, in the fall, after the movie kind of came out and bombed, but Zack Snyder had mentioned to the internet that, hey, I did shoot a lot of stuff and this wasn't the movie that I shot. Although supposedly Zack Snyder even now has not seen that cut of the movie, like the one that came out, the theatrical cut, we'll call it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So for some reason, a bunch of internet nerds kind of clamored for this Snyder cut. They are just kind of pounding their tables saying, Snyder cut, Snyder cut. They just really want to see this original version. And so they started campaigns online and in real life. So there was like Twitter campaigns. They actually have change.org petitions, multiple versions of them. They did cosplay protests where they would go to like the Warner Brothers office dressed as the Justice League characters holding up sign that says release the Snyder cut. They'd hang banners at sports events saying release the Snyder cut.
Jesus Christ.
They did a phone banking thing where they would like call the studio, but they would like basically divide all these people into shifts. So it was like, we're not all calling at the same time. You just have these slots and you have to call during this time window. They bought a digital billboard in Times Square that said release the Snyder cut. They also did what they called the Subway Sandwich Challenge, which a charity that Ben Affleck works for about food security. or works with, doesn't work for, because he's an actor. And the only food security he has is getting his Dunkin' in the morning. You know what I'm talking about? He loves Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, buddy, do I know? Yeah.
But so he works with this food security organization, and so they challenged Subway to give certain amounts of sandwiches away to people in need for free. And Zack Snyder got involved and said, if we can get these tweets up to this amount, like the retweets for the Subway tweet, then you'll have to give them more sandwiches. And then so the Snyder Cut people like rallied behind this Subway sandwich challenge, and it's on their website as being one of like their accomplishments.
Crowning achievements is the Subway stuff.
In many ways, kind of the best thing that they did, as stupid as it sounds, because they fed a bunch of people.
Well, no, it is the best thing. Imagine all that energy going towards something that actually mattered. Instead of like all the... Like, who cares about this movie, really? Like, it's fucking stupid, but I can't believe... Oh, that just blows my mind.
That's the thing with the internet and with fandom for comic book stuff and all that stuff. It's like part of people's identity a lot of the time. They like, it's their community also, right? So
yeah, right.
It's kind of interesting because it gives people to talk about when they hang out. It's just like, hey, when do you think Snyder's going to release the cut? I don't know, man. I hope it's soon. Yeah, me too, guy. You know?
Wow, what a beautiful friendship.
What a great barbecue this is.
All at a barbecue.
This clamoring for the Snyder Cut has gone on from 2017 in the fall to basically when they announced the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, which was like about a year ago, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the pandemic, I think, really figures into this whole story quite a bit.
How so?
I don't think that the Snyder Cut would exist if it wasn't for the pandemic. I think Warner Brothers
because nothing's coming out anyways.
Nothing's coming out. They're like, might as well put this Snyder Cut thing out so people stop phone calling us and harassing us constantly.
Also, I guess in a way, there's way to like a free money or something. Like, surely they made money somehow. Like HBO had to buy it or some shit. I don't know.
Well,
right?
imagine all of the people who like comic book stuff who didn't have an HBO Max subscription. Now you do.
Right, yeah.
And if it's the only place to watch it, you're going to have to subscribe every month if you want to watch it more than once, which you will.
Well, of course, I'm going to watch it as soon as we're done recording this.
Yeah, I just meant the like typical Snyder Cut nerd. But yeah, that's you.
Yeah. No, I was just going to make a joke about, I don't know. My eyeballs are going to turn to sand or something when I watch it a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I dare you. I dare you to watch it a second time.
I think I would rather run a marathon.
Well, I dare you to do that then.
Well, we'll see.
I dare you to do that, and all the money you raise from your marathon goes towards Zack Snyder.
Subway?
Make a sequel to this. And yeah, it goes to you buying me Subway also. That's your Subway challenge.
Yeah, it's like you have to buy me Subway for the rest of my life. It's like, okay,
I'll have a veggie delight, please.
Okay, I have to. I'm obligated to buy you Subway forever.
It's your Subway
always.
Challenge. Okay,
geez.
This cut was originally planned to be released as like a mini-series and like a 4-hour film. So like broken up into a couple episodes, because it could have been like 4 episodes, or it could have even been more. It could have been like, they could have done it as half-an-hour episodes.
Yep, it's true.
But for whatever reason, they just decided to scrap the miniseries idea and just do it as a full 4-hour movie for some reason.
Full fucking 4-hour
Yeah,
movie.
exactly. Even though the movie is broken up into like segments that are like chaptered. So they could
Actually, they're called parts.
Oh yeah, parts. So they should have...
ugh.
Yeah, they should have just... I mean, but also I saw an interview with Zack Snyder, and he said, you can watch it in parts. Like, just watch it until the chapter 2 comes out, and then watch chapter 2 the next day. Like, there's no reason you should watch 4 hours at a time. Like, I think he's a little bit more level-headed about this than everybody else who's talking about it, and probably including us.
He probably cares less about this than anyone.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I hope he does.
And also the film is dedicated to the memory of his daughter, Autumn.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought that...
That's nice.
Yeah, that's super nice. And also, like, the whole thing is really sad, I thought. Like, just...
it's tragic.
The fact that he had to go through that, the fact that this happened, and, like, to say nothing of the fact that it has anything to do with a movie with a guy who dresses like a bat, just like that family tragedy, you know, is kind of revolving around this. And then it's kind of wild to me that he's channeling the energy from that into the Bat Guy movie instead of making like some personal film about, you know, father-daughter relationships or something like that. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, everyone's different, right? Like, he's obviously a filmmaker who loves people in spandex. Like, that's
I guess so.
Undeniable.
That's his whole thing. Yeah, like
he loves
300
men
Watchmen.
in spandex.
Yeah, and I don't think except for Sucker Punch, I don't think he's made an original film. It's always been other IP.
A graphic novel, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so maybe...
300 Watchmen. Was Sucker Punch not from a book?
It might have been. I don't think it was, though. I thought it was an original... Okay. It was supposed to be an original feminist kind of action film.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Some differences between the two movies. Joss Whedon wrote and reshot a bunch of scenes for the theatrical release that had like kind of more humor, more quips. There was a brighter tone. The color grading was a little like more, less dour. Mm-hmm. And there was way.
Boy, you love
way,
that word today.
I mean, it's a good word to describe that. Yeah, just it's not so browny black and white, you know. It's just like black and white with a little bit of brown on it. That's kind of like how Zack Snyder color grades things.
Yeah.
But there's also way less violence. And they like cut out 90 plus minutes of stuff that Snyder had shot. They also, other big changes include the opening scene, which recaps the beginning or the end of Batman versus Superman, where Superman dies. Spoiler alert.
What?
Yeah. And Darkseid is not in the theatrical cut. That character doesn't exist at all. It's all revolving around Steppenwolf, the guy. So the Thanos-esque guy isn't even in the theatrical movie.
Are you shitting me?
No, yeah, isn't that wild? Like, they animated an entirely new bad guy for this film.
That's fucking no wonder they spent $70 million.
Yeah, I know.
All those fighting scenes, that means everything would have been CG.
Yeah.
Fuck me, that's bonkers.
I know, isn't that wild? But they did shoot all that stuff originally. They just cut it out.
Right, and they would have had like all the effects shots and plates and all that junk, I guess.
Yeah, so they had all that stuff ready. They just needed to like animate Darkseid, who maybe they had already animated it before, but then they just were like, let's finish it.
Let's just take a minute.
Sit right there.
I love Darkseid. Wait, is Darkseid the guy?
Did you watch this 4-hour movie?
Because there's two bad guys. There's like the one who kind of looks like he's on fire, and he only shows up every once in a while.
That's Darkseid.
That's Darkseid. Oh. So the other guy. Thanos, what's the other guy's name?
Thanos. Sometimes he looks like Thanos' ugly older brother.
Yeah.
Like if Thanos had a sibling who was like, Thanos is the hot one.
Yeah.
Darkseid is the ugly one.
Darkseid's the Uggo sibling.
Yeah. But then sometimes he's on fire, but only when he's like via his like hologram telecommunications, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But so his like henchman, that guy. Let's take a minute to just talk about Steppenwolf. Let's take a minute to talk about Steppenwolf's perfect loincloth situation.
Yeah, he had a nice like metallic loincloth.
He had a chainmail front side, back side, dangly dongle situation just perfectly. and he's like jumping, he's running, he's rolling, he's swimming.
Oh yeah.
And not once do you see bare butthole or balls or penis. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
you don't
he's
see little
like
Steppenwolf.
I love,
you don't see his
exactly. And you like, there's scenes where he's walking and stuff, and you can see the loincloth like dangling and like moving. And that was somebody's job, was just like animating this fun covering of his non-existent genitals.
Yeah, and you want them to release the Snyder butthole cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you see Steppenwolf's
You see a little bum action, a little pee action from Steppenwolf.
When I was texting during the film, my my autocorrect would sometimes say Stephen Wolf. So I was just like, his name is Stephen Wolf now. It's funny that his name is
funny.
Stephen.
That's nice. Just a mean guy.
I keep getting derailed.
I am derailing you. Thanks for putting up with me.
No, so, I mean, there's not much else. I mean, there's a lot that was different because 90% of the movie wasn't used, but supposedly in the theatrical cut, which I have not seen, the characters of the Flash and Cyborg especially are given like no backstory. So they just kind of show up.
Really?
They just kind of show up, quip a few times, say, we got to go get this mother box or whatever the hell. And then they do their powers a little bit. But yeah, so like all of the stuff with Cyborg, with his dad, with all of the, just his football game, his dead mom, any of his backstories that give him sort of any sort of motivation or any sense of who this person is was not in the theatrical version. So.
Also, I'm wondering, I missed the Stan Lee cameo in this film.
That's good stuff. Yeah, that's good.
That's for me. I just high-fived myself. Okay, continue.
Yeah, and so like you gotta wonder who is working in Hollywood. You know, where they're like, why was the Justice League movie bad? Why was this Snyder Cut good? You know, people are saying it's good, and it's because, surprisingly, they decided to just give these characters some sort of like story so we know who they are and what their motivation is.
But not even capably told or used backstory. Just the most generic. It felt like a really weak improv scene where you just say like, and I'm this way because my mom died or whatever. And it's that's all we need. Now
every
we care.
character has had a mom or mother figure die or dad figure die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because with the Flash, I think his mom was dead and his dad's in prison. Like Cyborg, his dad dies during this movie. Spoiler alert. You know, obviously Batman, something happened to his parents.
We'll never know what.
We'll never know what. They didn't get into what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents during this film, and I was like, what happened? I don't know what happened to his parents.
Imagine this person, Mike. Mm-hmm. You literally know nothing about the DC universe. Like, you've never heard of Batman, you've never heard of Superman, and you just watched the Snyder Cut. How fucking confused would you be?
Oh, I know.
You would know so much more about fucking Cyborg. You'd be like, who's Lois Lane? Like, what's her deal? Like, you wouldn't even realize that she's in love with Superman until the last, 12 minutes.
And also that she was impregnated by Superman. Spoiler alert. I'm just going to say spoiler alert after I spoil things.
It's more like a spoiler bummer because you're just bummed because it got spoiled.
Yeah, because there's a pregnancy test in this movie that's just sitting on a table. I got to say, some parts of the movie were well done. Where Zack Snyder, he's a capable storyteller with no words. He can tell things visually. Yeah. He's a visual stylist, and he knows how to tell a story with visuals. Like, you can't deny that. So even if it's just knowing to show a box of a pregnancy test.
They're called PP tests or PP sticks.
Yeah, Lois never at one point said, "Oh, look at me PP stick.
I'm pregnant.
Me prego, me pargnart." So, anyway, I got a couple more things to say about the Snyder Cut, which...
Yeah, please do.
There's a lot to say. I mean, but there's also nothing to say. So, the aspect ratio, we never talked about that. It's in that
4:3.
4:3 aspect ratio. Is it Academy format or is it 4:3? Yeah, so the aspect ratio is that way because Zack Snyder, when he was making Batman vs. Superman, he shot some stuff with IMAX, not unlike how Christopher Nolan experimented with IMAX when he was making The Dark Knight Rises. So he wanted to show this movie in IMAX originally. And so I think some scenes were shot in IMAX, but maybe they were not. But they were intended to be shown in IMAX at some point. So maybe... some Snyder Cut nerds will get their dream in the next year when they release an IMAX Snyder Cut thing that you can go and see. But watching it on a television in that aspect ratio was not enjoyable. It just kind of was like made the already kind of busy, frenetic, flashy kind of stroby fight scenes seem even more claustrophobic. So I don't know if that was what was intended by Zack Snyder, but that's what I kind of felt when I was watching it. I was like, oh, there's a lot going on in that small little square. So the Justice League original cut of the film, the one that came out, the theatrical cut, grossed $657.9 million, which seems like a lot, but is against an estimated $300 million budget and a break-even point of as much as $750 million. So apparently the movie made almost $660 million and it still lost Warner Brothers $60 million.
Huh. Interesting.
That's something. They're doing something wrong if they're spending that much money on a movie and they still can't make their money back.
Ain't that the truth?
Or if that's their business model. If
I may just talk about something we've really moved past. So the Academy ratio is 1.375 to 1.
1.375 to 1, that's right.
Yeah, and 4:3 is slightly different, but it's almost not noticeable. They're both very boxy, but basically what it was in the old days, silent films would have perforations on both sides of a 4-perf film negative. But when they added the sound strip, they had to skinny up the image slightly to put the sound strip. That's right. So the image would become slightly boxier. And so that's 4:3, whereas Academy ratio is a little bit wider.
Okay.
Ever so slightly wider.
There you
apparently. But yeah, they're virtually identical.
Anyway, last little fact about the movie. Warner Brothers requested that Zack Snyder not include Green Lantern, who is supposed to make a cameo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But Martian Manhunter made a cameo.
Right.
To the point where he was like, my name is Martian Manhunter, or some people call me that at least.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, that is Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What a doozy of an episode this has already been.
Yeah, we riffed too hard off the top, and now we're just.
I'm super proud of that Stan Lee bit I just did.
That was a good
I'm feeling
bit.
pretty fucking good
bit.
about that. Just to piss off the nerds a little bit more.
Hey, everybody. That was part 1 of this episode of From Justin to Kane. Come back next week to hear part 2 of our conversation about these 2 long-ass movies.